So let's now try to add the countdown functionality. So we want the time to count down. So for that you might think that we can actually use a while loop, and in the while loop you can decrement maybe using time. So time package time dot sleep you can use, and you might think that by putting the sleep to 1 second you can count down, you can decrement the values of the count. So what I mean to say is you might think like this. You can import time, and after importing time you may think that we can have a while loop, a while true, and then you can think that we can sleep for 1 second, and then decrement the count. Let us say from 5 to, we want to decrement the count by count minus equal to 1. So you might think that writing something like this will work. See, in normal programs, it will definitely work. You are sleeping for 1 second, decrementing the value, sleeping for 1 second, decrementing the value. This will definitely work in normal programs, but not in programs based on GUI, especially if they are event driven. What I mean to say is, now in our GUI, there are buttons. Now you want those buttons, something should happen on click of those buttons. Now if you try to put a while loop here, our program will always be stuck in this while loop and it will not see the remaining program at all. It will not go to the remaining program and it will not get into the main loop of the window. Now this main loop of window is written in such a way that every few microseconds, it is going to milliseconds, it is going to check whether some event has occurred. If that is the case, it is going to do something. If you want these event listeners to work, you cannot have this while loop. Show the while loop. You cannot have this while loop because your program will be stuck in this. In fact, if you write like this, your program will not launch at all. For example, try to run it. If you run it, nothing is happening. Your program is not at all running at all. Okay. So now let's try to use for this functionality, especially to do things like this. There is a method available with the window widget that you get with TK object, which is window widget here. You have an after method. So window dot after. Now you can see that just show the mini document. Yeah, you can see that after is going to take some milliseconds in time and is going to take a function, and in this function you can say what has to happen after this much amount of time. I will show you with example. For example, here every 1 second you want something to happen, you can write it there. So 1 second is nothing but 1000 milliseconds. Now you want something to happen there. So for that I am writing a function just for the sake of example. Let us say there is a function called say something. Now after every 1 second you can call this say something. So here after 1 second we can say that we want to call say something method, and you can say what are the parameters that you want to pass to say something. Here I am saying hello. Now what happens is when the program is running, when it hits this line, it will wait for 1 second and then it will call this method say something, and then to this method it will pass hello as a parameter and that hello will be printed. Let's try to run it and see. Now your program is launching also. You are able to see the output screen. Now you can see hello, right? Now one more thing is, here you can pass any number of parameters, any number of positional arguments are allowed. It is star args, any number of positional arguments. So let's try to pass 3 arguments to it. Type Ctrl Z. Yeah. Now here instead of 1 argument, you can also pass 3 arguments here. A, B, C. Print A, print B, print C. I'm just showing you a small example here. It is not actual program yet. So here you can give some numbers. Now they will be printed. All those numbers are printed and your program is also working. So now only problem is how can we call it every 1 second? Here, close it. Here we are calling it one time after 1 second. Now I want this to be called again and again without writing a while loop. So you can use recursion here. Okay, so recursion is same. So calling the same function again and again. So we will write a new function there. Let's call the new function as countdown. It is taking a value count. And now I'm going to call count again and again by decrementing the value of count. So now what happens is countdown is going to call window after, it is going to wait for 1 second, and then again it is going to call countdown, and again countdown is again going to call window after, and again it is going to call countdown, and between every call the value of count is decremented here. Let's try to print what is the value of count. Let's call countdown. Countdown method, let's pass 5 value to it. So we are passing 5 value to it. Now if you see it, every 1 second, the value of count is decremented by 1 and it is printed. Okay. Okay, stop it. But then I don't want this count to be printed onto the screen. Go to the countdown method. I don't want this count to be printed on the screen. I want this to appear on our canvas label, timer label. That timer label that you have created, I want it to appear there. Okay. So for that, okay, leave that if count is, add that line. So if count is greater than 0, we are going to call it. If count is less than 0, we are going to stop it. So we don't want it to go until negative numbers. Now just run it. So we are initially passing the value of count as 5. Five, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0 will be printed there and it will stop. Okay. Let's now catch hold of this label. So you can see that this is the label which is responsible for showing the time. This is on the canvas. Let's try to catch hold of it. Let's give it a name, timer text. And the way you generally change the label is different from the way you change the label if it is on the canvas. So you have to catch hold of the canvas and you have to say item config canvas.item config, because here the label is present on the canvas. On the tomato picture image, the label is present. You have to catch hold of that. It is nothing but timer text. Text is equal to count. Now if I run it, canvas is not defined. So there is a problem here. Our canvas is defined here and we are calling it here. So this method is calling countdown, but our canvas is here, so it is not recognizing it. Let's try to place this line below the canvas. Now you can see that there is countdown on the tomato, right? So what I want to do now is Instead of working with 5 seconds, let us say we are going to work with 5 minutes, because all our times are in minutes. Work time, break time, everything is in minutes. So let's try to use minutes here instead of seconds. Let's try to define a new method, and we will tie that new method to the start button. Now what should happen is, when we click on the start button, our countdown should start. For that we are trying to write a new method called start timer, and we are going to uh, attach that start timer to the button. Okay, you know how to attach a method to a button, right? To the button we are going to give command keyword argument, and we are going to use start timer method, but you should not have parentheses there. So what happens is, if anyone clicks on start timer button, automatically this method start timer will be called, and now start timer is going to call countdown, and actual countdown is going to happen. So ultimately what happens is, whenever someone clicks on the start button, the countdown will start. So internally this is the flow. Okay, again, in the start button we are going to have a method which is attached to the command, and that method is nothing but start timer. This one will be called, and this one is internally calling start countdown, and now that countdown is actually counting down the time based on the count you are providing. It is counting down the time, and it is updating the label which is present on the tomato. That is how you are seeing the countdown on the tomato. Okay. Now if I do start, it is saying 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. But we don't want to work with seconds, we want to work with minutes. So let us say we have 5 minutes here. So 5 into 60 is the minutes. And now if I start it, it is 300 seconds, and it is counting down from 300. But the problem is, we never count down the time like this. We count it down as 5 minutes, 10 seconds, 5 minutes, 9 seconds, 5 minutes, 8 seconds, like that. We don't want it to be displayed like this. So we will change it. We will get exactly the minutes and the seconds available. For that we are going to use division and modulus. Count divided by 60 is going to give me how many minutes is remaining, but then it is not going to give me a whole number. It is going to give me a fraction sometimes. I don't want that fraction. So we can take the floor of it. If it is 3.5 minutes, we are going to take 3 minutes and then the seconds. Okay. So there is a method available inside math module, that is math.floor. Now this is going to give me minutes. And then seconds is going to be modulo. Whatever time is there, if I do that modulo 60, that is going to give me seconds. Which means I have taken a number which is in seconds, and I found out how many minutes are there in it and how many seconds are there in it. Now I can use it to display a time kind of thing. So in the timer, we are going to display count minutes and count seconds, colon, count seconds. Now if I start it, it will say 5. There is a small problem. Again, type start. Type start. click on start. So when you click on start, initially it is showing 5 colon 0. It is not 5 colon 0 0. Other parts are fine, but if you see that 5 colon 0 is displayed, but the other parts are fine. 459, they are all fine, right? So for that, in order to change it, whenever the seconds is equal to 0, count seconds is equal to 0, we are going to print 0 0 as a string. 0 0 as a string. Okay. Still there is a problem which you now it is there fine, but there is one more problem. For that I need to run the timer for 1 minute at least. Do one thing, change 5 minutes to 1 minute. 5 minutes to 1 minute, and now try to run it for 1 minute. So it is going to take some time. Please be patient. So once it reaches 10, then you will see that 9, 8, 7, 6, all of them will be single digits. It will not be 0, 9, 0, 8, 0, 7 like that. I will show you that. We are almost there. Just 1 minute is taking so long. Now as it reaches 0 or 10, now you will see that 9, 8, 7, all these are coming in single digits. See left side, this minute single digit is fine, but this single digit is not good. Okay, so we will change that as well. So whenever the count seconds is less than 10, we have to add a 0. Zero followed by the count seconds. Now you will get 0, 0, 8, 0, 7, 0, 6 like that. Okay. So we are not going to show that. We are not going to show that because it will take 1 more minute. You run it on your own, you will understand it. Okay. Thank you. So now if you observe the way that we have to set the timer, in the first time we are going to get 25, third time 25, fifth time 25, seventh time 25, and second time 5 minute break, third time 5 minute, fourth time 5 minute break, sixth time 5 minute break, and eighth time it is 20-minute break. So we have to loop it. We have to continuously do it. And how to know when to use which timer? By seeing the count of the repetition. Okay, first, third, 5, 7, eighth time, and then second, fourth, sixth time it is 5 minutes. So you have to use a loop and we have to go through it. Okay, so let's now use a loop, kind of a loop, not exactly. I will show you how to use the loop here. So initially let us assume that repetition, the current repetition is 0, and then let's try to go into start timer method. And in the timer, let's access this reps, which is a global variable, by using global reps. And then let's increment reps by 1. Reps plus equal to 1. Every time you come into this timer, reps are going to increase by 1. And now depending on the reps, okay, before that we are going to calculate how many seconds are there in 25 minutes, how many seconds are there in 5 minutes, how many seconds are there in 20 minutes. So work minute is here 25. and then break is actually short break minutes into 60. Similarly, we need to have the long break seconds also. So we are converting all these minutes into seconds. Work in terms of seconds, short break in terms of seconds, and long break in terms of seconds. And then we have to call countdown based on the iteration currently we are in, based on the rep that we are in. So if it is 8th rep, then it is long break. I have shown you, right? So you have to write the appropriate condition there. If it is first or third or fifth rep, then you have to call work. You have to call countdown with work seconds. Now, if it is, add a comment. If it is second or fourth or sixth, then you have to call short. You have to call countdown with short break seconds. Let's write the conditions here now. Every 8th rep has to be a long break. So we are going to use a modulo. If reps modulo 8 equal to 0, then we are going to call long break. Else if it is an odd number, you have to be very careful here. The way you write the comments is important. If you put this one in the last, then for the even numbers it will be called, it will not be called. For the even number, countdown will be called. So before that you have to check if it is a multiple of 8. First check for 8 and then check for even numbers. Finally, if both the conditions are false, then it is work seconds, countdown with work seconds. Now let's try to run it. Let's give 1 minute for the work minute and run it. So please be patient, it is running. Now after this, actually the work time is over, there should be a break automatically. But the problem is, it is not going to call the break. I will show you why. Because in the countdown method, when the counter reaches 0, it is not going to do anything. It is stopping there. But we want, if it is less than 0, we want again set timer to be called. Okay, so I will show you what I mean to say. You might not be able to understand what I am saying here. What I mean is, once it reaches 0, it is going to stop. But we want it to continuously run. After it, see now it has stopped. After it has reached 0, it has stopped. What we want is, after this is over, again it should go into break. Okay. So now why did this happen is here. When the countdown method is called, whenever it is less than 0, it is stopping. It is working only if it is greater than 0. So here we have to write an else case. If it is greater than 0, it is calling window after, else you have to call the timer, start timer method. Once I call start timer method here, again it will run. Okay. So now I want to change the label. So show the output once. Now I want to change this label to break when the break is going on. When the short break is going on, I want to give one color. When the long break is going on, I want to give it one color. So there should be timer, break, break, three different labels with three different colors. Okay. Now we are going to change the label, which is called title label dot config. It is a normal label, it is not inside the canvas. So you can change it like this by using config. So when it is break, we are showing break, and the foreground color is equal to red. So we are going to display break on the title, that label, title label, and then we are going to say it is red. And if it is short break, we want to have a pink color there. And if it is work break, sorry, if it is work is going on, then we are going to show work here. Work here. Let's now have all of them as ones and let's now run it. Start it. Now you can see that it is going to change into break. Just be patient. I'm not able to set it to 10 seconds. We could have done that, setting it to 10 seconds, but then displaying like this will not be very easy. Now it should change to break after it goes to 0, and it should continue like that instead of stopping. Now it has gone into break, short break. And again we have set it to 1 minute only, that is why it is showing like this. Otherwise it will go to 5 minutes. Okay, stop it. And change back the numbers there. 25, 5 and 20. Okay. Hi, our program is almost done. Only thing remaining is about the check marks that we have on the GUI. For every work session, we want to have a tick mark. And then the second part is the reset button. These two are remaining. Other than that, everything is over. Now let's try to change the check mark label. Initially, let's not have the tick mark. Let's remove it. Let's remove the text part also. Let's remove the text completely. And now, whenever there is a work session over, we want to have that tick mark there. Now, how do we know that the work session is over? In the reps, the work session are at odd places and the breaks are at even places. Whenever you reach the even places in the reps, then you can understand that the work session is over and you can add those many number of tick marks. So here inside the else part, so whenever there is one session over, either break or work session, we are going to do this part where we are going to get the number of work sessions that are over so far, and we are going to add those many ticks. Okay. So we are using a variable called marks, which will be empty initially, and for every work session we are going to add one tick mark, and that label will be updated. So we are using a for loop. So the number of reps divided by 2, or I think it is reps. Just check it. What is the name of the variable that we have used? Yeah, it is reps, I guess. So for every even number of reps, we have to add one tick mark. Now we are going to count how many even number of reps are over, how many work sessions are over by using reps divided by 2. But it is going to give you an error if I write reps divided by 2, because it is going to be a float number. So we are going to convert that into by using float, we are going to convert it into an integer. Now by writing like this, we know how many work sessions are completed so far. Now we are going to add those many tick marks. So for every work session, we are going to add one tick mark here. Now instead of writing like this, a big expression inside the range, we are going to use a variable called work sessions. And we are using that variable work sessions here. And then to the checkmarks label, we are going to add whatever we have created. The mark string that we have created, we are going to add it. I cannot run it and show you because it is going to take some time. So it will work. You can run it and see. Okay, this code will work. Now the next part that is remaining is about the reset. So whenever user clicks on the reset, the timer should stop. It should go to 0000, the timer text, and then the title has to be timer, the title label, and then the check marks have to be cleared. So all these things we have to do. Now, how are we going to stop the timer is, we have used windows after, windows.after we have used, window.after. Now we have to stop that timer, window.after. For that we are going to use, let's catch hold of it. Let's create it as a global variable, timer as a global variable. Now we are catching hold of it. Timer equal to initially, let's say it is none. None is an object when you don't have anything to initialize, you can initialize to none. And now the timer, we are going to catch hold of it here. So basically, timer is an object which is going to catch hold of windows after method. Now this window after, we have to stop it. Okay, so we are going to stop it in the reset functionality. So first we will stop the timer by doing windows after cancel. What do you want to cancel? That timer we are going to write here. So in order to write it here, we have taken that variable and we have caught hold of window after. Now that window after is referred by timer here. Now this timer, when I use it, it is going to cancel the window. So let's run it and show. Achha, we have to tie this function to the reset button first. We didn't tie the function to the reset button. To the reset button, we are giving command equal to reset timer method, and this function reset timer is now going to be called whenever someone clicks on the reset button. Okay, reset button, you have seen that. Let's try to run it now. Now if I start it and if I start say reset, I think we didn't change the number there. Let's change the number to 25. It is still 1 minute there. Yesterday we have changed it. This work is 25 minutes. Now let's run it. Now if you start it, it is going to start the timer, and when I say reset, it is going to stop the timer. We have done after cancel, right? So because of that it is stopped. But what functionality we need here is, we want this to be 0000, this timer text, and we want this work to be changed to timer, and then whatever tick marks that are produced so far, we want to delete all those tick marks. Okay, let's see that functionality. In the reset timer, we are going to do all that. Whenever someone clicks on reset, all these things have to happen. Now, on the canvas, we have the timer text. So, how are you going to change it? Canvas dot item config. Now, you can say which item you want to change. It is timer text item. And then, what is the text that you want? 0000. 00 colon 00, and then title text will change. Title label has to be made to config. Title text has to be made to timer. Its text has to be made to timer, and then we have to change the tick marks, those check marks, to null. So checkmarks.config, change the check marks to null. I'm not able to show you the number of check marks we are going to get because it is going to take 1 minute time. So you work on it, you'll understand it. Okay, now let's try to run it. Now if you start it, it is going to start the work for 25 minutes. Countdown has started. Now if you reset it, everything will be reset. It is reset to 0 and it is reset to title, and there are no check marks. If there are any check marks, we have removed them. And again, if you start it, it is going to start from work. But there is a small problem. It is starting from break, not from work. But it has to start from work, right? Why do you think this has happened? Because we didn't reset reps. So we have to reset reps also. Let's reset reps. Otherwise, reps will be the old count and it will start from where we have ended it. Reps is a global variable, that is why we are using global reps, and we are starting reps to be 0. Now if you start it, the countdown has started. Now if you reset it, it has reset. So here there is timer, and here there is 00 and no tick marks. And if you start it again, it will start from work, not from break or anywhere else. Okay, thank you.